Strong winds are impacting a lot of our area today, and tropical waves in the Atlantic are headed our way. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. Fantastic to see you on a Tuesday. Hope you're doing well. Coming up in this video, we're going to be talking about a lot of wind across our area. A tropical wave impacting portions of the Caribbean right now, and then we'll look at to the Atlantic and talk about some pretty impressive tropical waves there as well. As we get started, I really want to first of all start with a heartfelt thank you to all of those who have taken time to drop in the comment section below what your weather has been like. I promise you I read all of the comments and it really helps me out. That's what I'm talking about. That's the weather community we want here at Meteo Mundo, because I give this forecast and then hearing from you guys exactly what you're seeing in the area. It's ground truth data. It lets me verify what I've been looking at here. So thank you again for taking the time to let me know what you've been seeing. A lot of you have had some very beneficial rain like the ABC Islands, and a lot of you have mentioned the winds as well. So that's what we'll get started with on this Tuesday video. The numbers that you see are the wind gusts in miles an hour, and there has been a very fresh breeze through the eastern and the central Caribbean for today. We'll start off with our friends in the Windward Islands, where again a tropical wave is impacting this area. Yes, Bridgetown earlier on this Tuesday had an over 40-mile-an-hour wind gust there on Barbados. And again, some of you mentioned that to me. There actually has been some active flood watches in effect for portions of Barbados. They've seen some heavy rain, over 50 millimeters in a couple of spots. That's over 2 inches of rain. And the moisture continues here. So it's going to be still a relatively wet Tuesday afternoon for Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, and then down towards Trinidad and Tobago as well. And you can see the showers developing over the islands at this point in time. So good, healthy rain, breezy conditions, helping to knock out the heat. Again, can't rule out some isolated flash flooding, so just be aware of that. And that moisture continues to stream south into places like Guyana and Suriname and Venezuela through the northern coastlines of South America, Nueva Esparta. You're going to see some rain as well. But this is just a wet pattern right now and a very strong wind to go along with it. Again, you can see St. Lucia, Martinique had a 35-mile-an-hour wind gust as well. Now we'll slide over to my friends in the ABC Islands. First of all, look at the wind in Aruba, over 40 miles an hour. Again, I can't overstate how strong the winds have been, but we've had some rain in this area. I've heard from a lot of my friends in Curacao. You can see the rain over there. If you live in Bonaire or Aruba, let me know if you caught some of those showers. Here's the great news. Even if you didn't get the morning round of rain, there'll be more opportunities the next several days. Yes, it's going to be scattered, but at least that opportunity is going to be there, and the winds will continue to whip, especially down into the ABC Islands. This is all of our easterly trades, guys, and they are just hauling right now. Generally speaking, it's been drier the farther north in the Lesser Antilles that you've gone on this Tuesday. Still could see some passing showers for Martinique and Dominica. We get towards Guadeloupe, and it's going to be even more isolated. Again, not going to rule out some rain later today for Montserrat and Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Bartholomew, which had a 35-mile-an-hour wind gust, St. Martin and Anguilla, but just not as much moisture content in the atmosphere here so far. Now, eventually, this moisture down to the Windward Islands will elongate itself, and we'll have a better chance for some rain tomorrow, but we also are going to be talking about the Saharan dust coming back into play for this area as well. It's been relatively dry so far in Puerto Rico and the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. Very steady winds today. 25, 30 miles an hour. Just in the last hour or so, a few showers have tried to develop on the western and the northwest sides of the island, Mayaguez, Anguilla, Isabela, Arecibo, maybe on over towards San Juan. But generally speaking, of course, these storms are going to be marching west and trying to get a little bit closer to Hispaniola through the day. But additional storms are possible in Puerto Rico and the U.S. British Virgin Islands. Storms are going to be scattered in nature across Hispaniola. Port-au-Prince has had an over 30-mile-an-hour wind gust. Santiago de los Caballeros, about the same situation. Again, just a very fresh wind across most of the eastern and the central Caribbean. Isolated to scattered storms here. Watch out for some heavy rain, some gusty winds, and of course the lightning as well. Storms are flaring up in a quick fashion right now over eastern Cuba. We're still relatively dry in the Turks and the Caicos. Starting to see a couple of storms try and get going across Jamaica, again towards Montego Bay, Negril, Lucy area. What do you say for this area? We take a look at the feels like temperature, because I know it's been hot here. In Kingston, again, we still hit 114 for a feels like temperature this afternoon. That is mid 40s Celsius. That's outrageously hot, okay? Now, I think the wind is helping temper what it feels like outside. A lot of you have said, hey, this breeze feels nice. Of course it does. But that is still dangerous heat for our friends in Kingston and Portmore and Spanish Town. And even Montego Bay hit over 100 degrees for feels like temperature this afternoon. Now again, isolated storms for today, better chance for some rain in Jamaica as we go through the week. We're still dry in the Cayman Islands on this Tuesday. Feels like temperatures there about 105 to 110. Going to expand this view out. Relatively speaking, it's been drier here in the western sides of the Caribbean through the Yucatan and Central America so far. So look at these feels like temperatures now from Merida on over towards Cancun and Cozumel and Chetumal and Belize City. Even the heat beginning to build back in San Ignacio. So again, we had a little stretch of drier weather here. When I go over to the water vapor imagery and I flip that on for you real quick, you'll see that the air, relatively speaking, is some of the driest that we've seen in this part over the last, 3 weeks, month? It's not going to last long. There's more rain coming, guys, for sure. But you can see that the drier air has spread in, at least in the short term. And so now we're getting back into some pretty darn hot weather for us here. Now, later in the day, we're going to get some storms to develop. We will get some late afternoon, early evening rain. The Caribbean coastlines of places like Honduras, Nicaragua, it's still very wet through Costa Rica and Panama. So the farther south you go in Central America, some extremely heavy rain. And I appreciate my friends in Central America letting me know how wet it has been in this area as well. And again, you can just see the difference in feels like temperatures from where it's raining and where it's not. Now for the Bahamas, this is going to be, again, as I mentioned yesterday, more isolated, localized storms. Nothing apparent as of yet, but it's not going to shock me if deep on this Tuesday afternoon through the early evening, we get a few more storms for places like Walker's Key and Grand Bahama and Abaco and Bimini, Andros, New Providence, and Eleuthera. You can already see the storms that have developed here in South Florida, and they're really just starting to get cranked up right now. But there's enough moisture in play to see some of those additional showers. It will be slightly drier today in the central and the southeast Bahamas, but even places like Exuma and Cat Island have the opportunity. Same thing for the Acklins as well. Notice this very interesting feature. This is what we call a tut. It is a tropical upper tropospheric trough, and it's just a big spin in the atmosphere. Now, it's nothing tropical in nature as far as at the surface, because we're talking about higher up, but it is aiding in at least developing a few showers here. But again, this is not anything to worry about in a tropical nature, but you do see a brief spin out there right now. As a matter of fact here, if I switch back over to the visible satellite image, you can clearly see that, right? Very classic looking spin, but nothing there, and there's not a lot of wind associated with it. Bermuda has been enjoying a nice and dry day. So let me get back out to the broad perspective here, because the next thing I want to touch on is what's happening in the Atlantic. Now look, friends, we've got some impressive tropical waves to talk about. First of all, tropical wave number 1 is impacting the Windward Islands and the Lesser Antilles in general right now. Tropical waves 2 and 3 are marching through the Atlantic basin. I have to say, these are more impressive looking than what I expected them to be. They're holding together, they're fighting dry air, and they're fighting Saharan dust. Let's take a look at the visible satellite imagery out of these. And you can see, and we're just starting to lose the daylight here, so you'll see in those last couple frames it goes away. But you can see how there are some clouds moving actually from west to east in here. There's not a lot of organization with the waves, even though there's a good flare-up of thunderstorms right now. If I switch on to the enhanced satellite imagery and the visible combined, you can kind of, again, get that idea. So they're holding together more than I expected, but the Hurricane Center still is not mentioning these to be of a tropical development type. okay? And one of the main reasons is, if I zoom out and we just kind of get our bearings here of where we are in the Atlantic, obviously we're off the West African coast. When I show you where the Saharan dust is, and I step to this side of the map, look where the Saharan dust is most concentrated. It's right over those tropical waves in areas to the north. So it's really fighting the Saharan dust. And so there's going to be more than likely very little actual organization with these waves, but they're going to be strong enough to hold together and to bring some impacts to the Caribbean. So again, and you saw the thumbnail, even though I don't expect these to become tropical disturbances, tropical depression, tropical storm, these will still have impacts. Again, tropical waves are areas of showers and storms and very gusty winds. So on the heels of this one, we'll get Saharan dust first, but then we are going to have multiple rounds of showers and storms and very windy conditions to come along for the ride. But again, the fact that we are talking about these kinds of waves fighting Saharan dust in July is still very impressive. And again, that's why I have my concerns once that Saharan dust goes away in August and what these tropical waves are going to be able to do as far as organization in the main development region of the Atlantic starting in early August. As we get into the forecast part of this video, you know I love to hear from you guys, so thank you for that. Also, thank you for liking this video. Again, that's just a small payback, really helps out the channel. If you're not a subscriber yet to Meteo Mundo, you want your latest forecasts across the Caribbean and the Bahamas, all your tropical updates, you found your home. Thank you for subscribing right now, and thank you for sharing this with your family and friends, and of course, all the ways to support us here at Meteo Mundo as well. Let's get into the forecast. Okay, so the first thing I want to actually look at here is our winds. I think that's going to be kind of a big story for the week ahead. Now, it's going to kick up surf and sea conditions. Again, we still have our very large Bermuda high situated here in the central western sides of the Atlantic. This will continue, of course. You get clockwise winds around a high. So in our area, these are going to be strong easterlies that continue. Again, purples and pinks on your wind arrows are winds over 20 knots. It's 20 to 25 knots. We get into the whites. I don't see a lot of whites on here. We get into the whites, we're over 30 knots. But just look how fresh, and I'm just going to let this loop over the next 7 days. Just look how fresh our easterlies are going to stay through the Lesser and the Greater Antilles. The ABC Islands, you guys should anticipate some afternoon winds of over 30 miles an hour, basically each and every day. I just don't see that really changing very much as well. There's very little wind shear, but when I get out into the Atlantic, you also notice that in the area where these tropical waves are, there's actually very little wind as well. There's not a lot in the way of any wind. We don't see any big kinks, and you can almost clearly see where that one wave is moving through. But again, the winds are very light. Obviously, I watch everything every day, and if something were to happen a little bit more as the organization, we've got time to watch it, and I'll keep you updated. But this is going to bring slugs of moisture and showers and storms and still very fresh winds in here as well. And obviously, some of this wind will impact places like the Bahamas, and eventually, of course, it'll pull on over to the Western Atlantic as well. But again, strong easterlies in the forecast over the next 7 days, and they'll be heightened a bit as these tropical waves move through. And of course, that will also kick up surf and sea conditions as well. So let's take a look at the GFS model. Again, this will be our broad model, and then we'll get into the NAM model as well. So I'm going to loop that up. First things first for us here. Again, fast moving tropical waves, meaning that we're not going to have a lot in the way of consistent weather in your area over the next 5 days. It's going to go up and down. The rain chances are going to be there very prominently one day, and then they'll fall off. The Saharan dust will play a factor as well again, and I'll show you that Saharan dust over the week ahead. It's just going to march west as well. So for places like the Lesser Antilles and Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, we're going to have some wet weather the next couple days, but then we're going to really shut off the rain like that, and it's going to be hazy and relatively dry as we get towards the weekend. So starting off right here in the Windward Islands again, and I think the easiest thing to do here is just stair step this from the beginning. Again, for the remainder of this Tuesday, we're going to still see some showers. Some of this will linger during the evening and the overnight, even right on through tomorrow morning. So for St. Lucia and Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad, Tobago, Nueva Esparta, Guyana, Suriname, Venezuela in general, showers will persist through at least the morning hours of our Wednesday. We should see a few more showers dot the landscape again tomorrow with a very strong easterly breeze, and then we do get slightly drier in this area as well. The next wave really won't begin to impact us more than likely until late into the weekend, so I'll be monitoring that, but more moisture will be coming back into play, and you can see again as we get a little bit deeper into even early next week, we'll have more moisture moving its way back in. Still very scattered in nature. And again, if I just show you the broad perspective here, you notice that we have that kind of moisture axis here, but nothing has wrapped up with this. So again, none of the models in the Hurricane Center are not talking about those waves that I showed you to develop into a disturbance, but it's always worth watching. And again, it doesn't mean it's not going to have impacts. Look at Barbados this morning with just a tropical wave with over 40-mile-an-hour winds and some very heavy rain. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about here for the week ahead. So switch over to the NAM model for the rest of the area because, again, still just feel like the NAM has a little bit better handle on what these tropical waves have been doing. So for, again, the remainder of today, still a fairly solid chance, and this range should be building north through the remainder of our Tuesday. So don't be surprised, okay, for places like Guadalupe and Montserrat and St. Kitts and Nevis and Antigua and Barbuda and Saba and St. Eustatius, St. Bartholomew and Anguilla, all of these areas that you might not get some rain until late tonight or maybe even overnight. But some of that could be some heavier downpours and some gusty winds as well. So you might wake up and have a little bit of water on the old lawn there. Now, this rain will continue to track west, and look at the rain for tomorrow for places like St. Thomas and St. John and Tortola and Virgin Gorda as well there in the British Virgin Islands. Good, high chances for rain. Really impressive potential for rain tomorrow in Puerto Rico. And then, of course, this shifts on over towards the Dominican Republic as well. Again, this is just this next tropical wave pushing this moisture from east to west with very gusty winds. Showers will continue to then develop north as well. We'll get better rain chances in the Turks and Caicos late tomorrow as we get into our Thursday and maybe even as far as early Friday before it shuts off a bit. And for our friends in Cuba, the rain chances continue to stay high. And then here comes the rain for Jamaica. Again, it's isolated today and tomorrow. It'll be a better opportunity on Thursday area-wide, and then Friday could be even wetter. So overall, we're just seeing better rain chances here for our entire area. Port Antonio, Maypen, our friends in Mandeville, Kingston, Portmore, Spanish Town, Cambridge, Lucy, Ocho Rios. Again, as we get into Thursday and Friday, you can see these rain chances just continue to ramp up, and the opportunity for some heavier rain to come along for the ride as well. So you'll see, and I've got the island by island forecast, of course, coming up in just a second. The rain chances improving in Jamaica throughout the week ahead. Then for the Cayman Islands, again, pretty isolated the next couple of days. Moisture will begin to return probably early on Thursday, so better opportunity Thursday and into Friday. We'll see just how fast this works its way in. After one drier day, in places like Honduras and Belize and Guatemala, the rain chances will improve. You can just see the moisture that's in Costa Rica and Panama drives up to the north. We still have this broad overall spin, and actually the rain chances will go up significantly in a hurry for places like Roatan and Belize City. So fairly heavy rainfall is possible tomorrow and on Thursday in these areas. If nothing else, they're fast-moving showers, and it's going to break the heat that we're seeing for today. You get as far north as Cancun and Cozumel, and the rain is actually going to be more isolated in nature. Southern sides of Quintana Roo will have a better chance for showers and storms, and some of that rain and storms, of course, develops just inland and works its way towards the western side of the Yucatan. Merida and Campeche could continue to see at least some isolated showers and storms through the day. Of note, a couple of areas to watch in the eastern Pacific, but of course, those are going to be moving away. And then for our friends in the Bahamas, besides, of course, well, we mentioned just Turks and Caicos. So let's pick this up from there. Notice this moisture is not as prominent, if you will, as we go this far north in latitude, right? But we'll still have some scattered rain for the Acklins in places like Exuma, Cat Island, Long Island. As we get north and west, it's still going to be a decent chance for some rain, but, you know, Grand Bahama and New Providence and Abaco and places like that, it's just more the localized storms in the afternoon. Nothing of a broader scale that's going to be impacting the area here over the next few days. While Bermuda, again, I just feel like Bermuda has been in this zone of relatively quiet weather. We've had a couple of passing showers there, but nothing of significance is in the forecast for the week ahead. So let us break down those rain chances for you island by island right now, friends. We'll start off in the Bahamas on the northwest side. Tomorrow, Thursday, 30% chance for storms, just a little bit better quality of moisture on Friday, expecting slightly more widespread. Central and southeast Bahamas, again, just get into that moisture a little bit earlier, so a 40% chance Thursday and Friday. Turks and Caicos nearer the axis of that tropical wave, higher rain chances then Thursday and Friday as well. Cuba just stays with good rain chances across the island. Cayman Islands rain chances begin to improve as well. After a 40% chance tomorrow in Belize City, it's a hefty 70% chance on Thursday. And other places like northern Honduras will be in that heavy rainfall potential as well. We're still at a 50% chance on Friday, but again, it just doesn't go as far north as Cancun and Cozumel with the better chances for rain. Jamaica, 30% chance tomorrow. 40% chance Thursday, all the way up to a 60% chance, and maybe even some heavier rainfall on Friday. I'll be monitoring that. Dominican Republic, good chances for rain there for places like Santo Domingo and Punta Cana the next few days. Here comes the Saharan dust. You'll notice our rain chances are relatively high in Puerto Rico and the U.S. and British Virgin Islands the next couple of days, but really fall off quickly. By the way, this one here, I apologize, that should be 20%. 20% for the U.S. and British Virgin Islands on Friday. Bermuda stays at a 20% chance through the next few days. Anguilla, scattered showers. We're going to get some rain in these areas tomorrow and Thursday, but again, the Saharan dust and the haze play a factor. Same thing for St. Kitts and Nevis as well. And you can just see throughout the Lesser Antilles how we just drop that rain chance for a time. So overall, for Antigua and Barbuda, Montserrat, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, higher chances today, overnight, through at least early tomorrow, isolated to scattered showers on Wednesday, and then if you catch a shower to help cool things off and get rid of some of that haze on Friday, consider yourselves pretty lucky. Again, highlighting Barbados does have a flood watch in effect right now. So there's been pockets of heavy rain already on this Tuesday. More scattered showers are likely tomorrow, and then Barbados begins to dry out. Again, thanks for all those who live there letting me know what's been happening in your area. Grenada is about the same situation. A little bit closer to South America. Trinidad and Tobago may hold on to a slightly better chance on Friday. But even places like Suriname and Guyana, which have had widespread storms, will feel the impacts and see their rain chances drop by Friday as well. Nueva Esparta, scattered showers Wednesday, Thursday, and it's nice to be able to keep the 30% chance of rain in for the ABC Islands over the next 3 days. Let's take a look at the wave heights and directions. And again, this is going to continue to be a situation for us here. As these waves move through, they're going to kick up the sea conditions. You can see that next wave coming in late in the weekend, right? And then early next week. Now, the first one, if we go back to the first time frame here, you can see that moving through. Just really steady 7-8 foot seas, pretty fresh winds as well. And again, please watch out for swells, especially on the exposed open waters of the Atlantic there in places like the Bahamas. But just really solid wind is going to be coming along for the ride. I don't think that's going to change much as well. As a matter of fact, that was one other thing I wanted to show you guys here. Let me just go back over real quickly to the GFS model. Let's see here, bring up the wind gusts. And again, while I'm loading this up, I always take this opportunity to say, if you haven't hit the like button yet, if you haven't subscribed, you have a few seconds as this model is loading to do me that favor and click those buttons. I appreciate it a lot. I think you will as well to get the latest updates. So here you go. Again, you can just see those greens and those yellows. Those are winds of over 20 knots. Notice all of that wind towards the ABC Islands, and then that fresh wind picking up with that next wave moving into Central America. So we're going to have wind and rain on the western sides of the Caribbean here. Jamaica will feel it, the Cayman Islands will feel it, and then the Caribbean, sides of the Yucatan and all of Central America, really, even down towards the southwest side, we're going to have some wind coming along for the ride. But these are all strong easterlies for us here over the next 5 days. As far as rainfall totals go, again, we're still going to have the highest concentration of rain in Central America, especially in the southern sides, Costa Rica, Panama. As I've mentioned, the waves moving through have some forward speed, 15 to 20 knots or so. So they're going to bring a few inches of rain here and there, right? And we can see that. Pretty good rainfall potential here. Places like Trinidad and Tobago where you could have over 2 inches of rain. That's over 50 millimeters in some spots. Barbados, again, I think we're undercutting what we've seen because we've already had 2 inches in a couple of areas. But you get the idea. While I expect maybe 50 to 75 millimeters as a maximum, that's 2 to 3 inches of rain, the waves are moving fast enough. They're not going to be sitting over one area long enough to provide a wide-scale chance for flooding. Could we have localized flash flooding? It's a possibility. Am I greatly concerned about it? No. What's more going to be widespread? The wind. The wind is going to be really fresh with these tropical waves coming through. So we could have more than an inch of rain in Vieques and Culebra and our friends in Fajardo as well. You know, St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, Road Town, half inch or so. There will be isolated higher amounts than this, okay? Sometimes these models have a little bit tough time picking up on some of the localized heavier rainfall, but we always average these numbers out as well. But you notice that pretty much everyone gets at least a little bit of something here. Again, Cuba is a spot that could pull more than 100 millimeters of rain over the next 5 days in several locations. They've just had really robust storms developing across the island in a localized fashion. Morant Point, maybe an inch and a half of rain. Notice that we're not as high through the rest of Jamaica, but I still have my fingers crossed that we might be able to up these numbers a bit here beginning on Friday. Not until then, though. Cayman Islands still relatively dry. Here's all your heavy rain. Again, even sneaking into coastal sides of Honduras and Nicaragua, that's 6.5, 7 inches of rain. It's going to be significant right along the immediate coast, and some of that heavier rain will work its way inland. Then you get towards San Jose, and again, it's another 5, 6 inches of rain. This doesn't account for anything that's already fallen. This is starting now over the next 5 days. That would be very significant. Flooding would be an issue in these areas. And then, as I've mentioned, look at this next area here, San Pedro Sula, the coastline of Guatemala. Then we get up into Belize, Dangriga. Can we get 5 inches of rain there? It's possible. Could we get 3 inches of rain in Belize City? Yes. Looks like a pretty tight gradient from coastal to inland, but we average these numbers. So could San Ignacio get 1 to 2 inches? I think it's possible. Notice again how we dry out relatively quickly in the Yucatan. I do expect there to be more rain on the northern side, but not as much as we're going to see areas off to the south. The quality of the moisture, again, is just much better farther off towards the south. And then it really is a mixed bag through the Bahamas. On average, 1 to 2 for the Acklins. And again, Exuma and Rum Cay, San Salvador, Cat Island, Eleuthera. Right now, we're actually picking up lighter rain overall in the northwest Bahamas, but just like yesterday, heavy downpours and thunderstorms will blow some of these numbers out of the water quickly. We will have isolated areas that go a lot more than that. Friends, I appreciate you so much. Thanks for finding us across all of our social media platforms. We really had some good growth in some areas, especially on TikTok, where we do some special content there as well. So find us on TikTok at Meteo Mundo, Instagram, My Meteo Mundo, X at Meteo Mundo, Facebook page as well. You want to send me a picture or a video, love to show them to you here on YouTube. It's mymeteomundo@gmail.com. Once again, friends, thank you for liking and subscribing. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Again, thank you for letting me know what's been happening in your area. That really helps out our weather community, so drop that in the comments section. And I will see you tomorrow with the latest update across your area right here at Meteo Mundo.